Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of FitzRupee Cast featuring DoW2 Retribution. Red-Rupee here, calling the shots for you as always tonight, and we are on the low-lying, overgrown map that is Fedrid Folley. This is a custom map that comes along with the Elite mod, one of my favorite custom maps, actually. This one, along with the other two that were used in the Grows Open tournament either last year or the year before, are very solid custom maps, lots of fun to play. This one, Gerillo's Forge, and I forget the name of the last one that's played pretty commonly. We'll take a look around the map as we get started, but first up, our players Stoned Elfboy as our witch-like Inquisitor with all kinds of support abilities, comes with a stun right out of the gate, and then my personal favorite, the Tech Marine, the man with a gun for every occasion, played by Mr. Baacl on the red side. So Space Marines facing off against Imperial Guard on this map. This map is pretty spread out for a one-on-one map. It's actually quite large, and just the layout of it in general tends to make it a little tricky. You can see this contested VP. You can only get to it by these two ramps on either side. Then you have natural power for either player on either side of that VP. Then along the middle, you kind of got a big open battleground with a little bit of yellow and green cover on either side, and a contested power and wreck in the middle there. And then on the far western side of the map, we've got one more power node way out there, and then you've got two natural VPs for either player. So, build order looking standard for Stoned Elfboy, getting that Sentinel first to do some quick harassing and decapping of map control, put a little early pressure on the slower Space Marine race, and Baacl actually going for a second scout. Personally, I like to get two tacks against Imperial Guard. It gives you a lot of staying power, doesn't bleed much if you play it right, but I suppose the Space Marine mantra is when in doubt, double scout, so I'm not going to argue with that. We'll see how that plays out. Already we can see a Hammer of the Witch fell, and she can pick off scouts whenever she wants with that ability. I tend to see her want to go more for trying to beat up heroes and tacks with that, but I guess a scout kill is worth it as well. You can see Baacl playing all over the map right now, kind of spread out, not really taking any definitive hold right here. Sentinel getting upgraded with its Stomp ability while the Tech Marine just kind of tanks here in the center, and it's working out well. Here comes a nice flank by some Space Marines, but they're actually shooting the Guardsmen. Oh no, I feel like they could have actually taken out that Sentinel had they used that ambush to take on the Sentinel. In the meantime, Baacl doing a good job kiting two scout squads around with this Inquisitor and actually doing pretty reasonable damage while doing so. Inquisitor is full on mana, and I'm assuming has another Hammer of the Witches here shortly. There it goes, getting activated right there. Scouts moving back, retreating quickly to get out of range of that. Stoned Elfboy needs to get a little bit closer. Those scouts are too quick and manage to keep all of their remaining models up. Actually, some nice little play there by Baacl. That's something you can do, by the way, when you see that Inquisitor using Hammer of the Witches at a long range. It does have about like a second and a half, I'd say, casting time on it, easy. So if you are on the edge of her casting arc, you can most certainly move away from that and prevent her from doing anything. And meanwhile, she's just kind of wasting time trying to get that casting ability off, isn't shooting her sidearm or anything. So, nice little micro there by Baacl. And now he's going for a second tack, so we're going to have two tacks, two scouts on the field. Stoned Elfboy has a couple gens down. Meanwhile, Baacl only has his natural node. Of course, going with 4 squads right out of the gate is going to kind of restrict you from putting down early power gens. But he's doing good as far as map control. Most of the contested points belong to him. He's down by a few VPs. Gonna lose some more here as the Sentinel decaps the contested point. But he will probably be able to contest this kind of western portion of the map unless Stoned Elfboy maneuvers in to deal with that. And it looks like Tactical Marines are moving in to support the two squads of scouts. Actually, some nice unit positioning, I feel like, so far from Baacl. And I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I am, but the Tech Marine and Tax being a reasonable force over here, and then two squads of scouts and Tactical Marines on the eastern side of the map. So that's two reasonable task forces, and pretty mobile as well. There's no devs on the field to really keep them locked down in one position. Devs can be kind of useful in this map, but I feel like you want a more mobile force if you can, since the map is in fact so spread out. So really, Baacl's making this work right now. He's got a lot of firepower on the map. Has his Tech Marine, 2 tacks, and 2 scouts. Elfboy has responded with some catechins of his own and doing a good job trying to harass with the Sentinel. The Sentinel holding up pretty well against fire, but it can only out-repair a single attack squad. Those scouts will start whittling away at its HP in the meantime. Now they're trying to push off those guardsmen and get them away from that sentinel. Some good kiting back and forth, trying to keep the scouts up. Now there's a lot of firepower focusing down that sentinel. It's going to have to fall back. Elfboy's on top of his micro, but still losing pretty hard in map control. You can see all he's got is his natural power farm and his natural requisition point. So Baacl is really doing a good job of dealing with this larger map as Space Marine. I like his play a lot so far. Unfortunately, he moved his scouts a bit too close right there. I'm not sure where the second squad was. It must have fallen back at some point. I guess took a lot of damage. But had he kept those two squads up there, he might have been able to take that sentinel. But Catachans were moving in to intercept. Stone to Elfboy was not going to let that thing go down without a fight, and now capping on the far side of the map to try to keep those VPs from ticking down any further than they already have. 410 to 461, and Baacl is already heading into Tier 2. Got his 3 gens up pretty quick after he purchased his initial squads. Stone Elfboy actually going for a second Catachan Devil squad. That could be interesting. Be some heavy Tier 1s from both of these players. Double Catachans, or, oh, never mind, I won't even bother going into what I think about double Catachans, because it's not going to happen. Stone Elfboy canceled that, and looks like he's probably going to be heading into Tier 2 shortly himself. Nice use of the improvised explosives right there. Once Catachans are on the field, and once you see that Demo Man on the Catachans, you really want to get yourself a Sarge pretty much as soon as you can, because you can guarantee that there's going to be a few little nasty surprises like this hanging out on points, in your retreat path, behind cover, wherever you think is a good spot. Putting the mines on that side of the points, you can see these are the points, the locations that are most likely to be capped from. And also in choke points, like right here would probably be a good spot. Those improvised explosives can really hurt some feelings. If you position it right, you can actually gib a whole scout squad, I believe, outright, and severely damage attacks as well. I mean, we've all seen what they can do, so it's no surprise there. Baacl's build so far has been pretty much no power. All he did is get himself some bionics on the Tech Marine, which, all things considered, is a pretty curious choice when fighting Imperial Guard, I feel. I don't know if he's anticipating some Ogrins or something like that, or just got that to help deal with the Inquisitor. But we'll have to see how this plays out with bionics on the Tech Marine. Personally, I would have probably chosen to get Artificers myself. I love Artificers. Mines and that sort of thing really makes it a headache for Sentinels. If you can get the Sentinel to hit a mine while it's on retreat or pushing in, you can kind of strand it out there and leave it in a bad position. One of the scout squads actually went... Oh man, speaking of giving scout squads, it looks like a scout squad went down to that Catachan improvised explosive on that side of the map. Catachan's harassing power got the node down on this side, and looks like they will be able to push these tactical Marines off as well. Baacl does have, however, a Dreadnought on the way. Stone to Elfboy heading into Tier 2 now with some reasonable power and a big pile of requisition of his own. And looking ahead, very good on Stone to Elfboy's part, getting himself the Infernal Pistol and a very expensive upgrade. But you know what? He's looking at his opponent's army, as you should be, and he could be kind of resting on his laurels right now if he so chose. He said, oh man, I just took out a scout squad. I taken back a good chunk of the map. I'm not down by too many VPs here. I just smashed a little bit of power. I don't need to worry about much right now, but he knows that Baacl has spent almost no power. Knows a Dreadnought's on the way, gets himself that Inferno pistol, and has some Stormtroopers coming up as well, so I'm sure we'll be seeing those hop onto their anti-vehicle kit when the time comes, and Stone to Elfboy will be ready for this Dreadnought threat. Sentinel's getting upgraded with rockets as well, given a little more anti-infantry power, and can actually fire, as we can see, super long range right over that terrain. The problem with that, though, as you just saw, is that when Sentinel rockets fire above or below their current level of terrain, their arc is actually kind of messed up. So you have to keep that in mind. Anyways, Dreadnought's coming in, has the assault cannon ready to go, and is going to start pounding away at the Sentinel. Sentinel will probably most likely switch to its anti-vehicle rockets, and I'm sure we'll see, actually, the Stormtroopers are changing to their assault kit. And retreat! What? I don't know what's going on. Stone to Elfboy, perhaps. Maybe he meant to retreat his Inquisitor right there? Oh, that's a big mistake. And I think, honestly, the assault kit is a mistake as well. He needs to be able to take out that Dreadnought. This Assault Cannon Dreadnought is pretty much just infamously effective against Imperial Guard squishy infantry units. You can see the Tactical Marines have Judgment on them, which gradually drains a little bit of health, and if they stick around for too long, of course, the Inquisitor will blast them for a big chunk of damage. It can be very devastating. Catachin bombs hanging out, watching this eastern portion of the map. Meanwhile, Guardsmen trying to cap the far side on their own.
Go ahead, sir.
Right now, I feel like Baacl really needs to be kind of aggressive with that Dreadnought, but it's kind of a mixed bag. He wants to make sure that Detector of the Scouts is walking with a Dreadnought, which he is doing right now. I'm not sure if that's intentional or whether they're just moving up to support the Tech Marine. But you don't want to push forward with vehicles against Imperial Guard without a Detector, because next thing you know, a Stormtrooper squad's on you. He hasn't likely seen that they have the Assault Kit yet, since they retreated right after they bought it. So that's something he's going to want to consider. Once that Assault Kit is spotted, he should know that this Dreadnought can really be an aggressive powerhouse right here. In the meantime, Tax moving in on some injured Stormtroopers. One looks like it's about to go down. He needs to be very careful with this squad. Hopefully he's paying attention and not looking on the far side. 83 HP. I'm not sure if it's going to escape. But I think it might just barely. 40 HP. I don't think Judgment will kill it all by the time it gets back to base. And right now, Baacl is kind of pulling back, which I think is a mistake. I think he should go for this power farm while he has the opportunity. There's nothing over here. He knows the Stormtroopers have the Assault Kit. If he's keeping track, he should know that there's no real potential AV over here, other than the Sentinel itself. Stone Elfboy moved over to that power side in kind of probably anticipation of the power bash that I would have expected. Baacl upgrades himself a squad of Stern Guards, and looks like he's not intending to get any other squads for the time being. Elfboy's now moving in, trying to take that eastern portion of the map. The VPs are about 100 in favor of Baacl right now. 400 to 300. And a heavy weapons squad now upgraded with a las cannon on the field. Now that the Dreadnought's moved over to this side of the map, really I feel like it should push up, hold the VP, and kind of hang out right in this general area. This is a good spot for vehicles because there aren't too many nice long line of sights, especially once you spot that nice heavy weapons squad with the las cannon. That las cannon puts out some serious damage on vehicles, but if you kind of hang out in this general area, there aren't too many good sight lines for it. It either has to fire from here or up here, and you can kind of predict either of those situations and deal with it accordingly.
Go ahead, sir.
Both squads' attacks now moving in on the eastern side of the VPs, pushing up. Baacl's been doing a good job of really kind of keeping his forces separated in two task force and keeping control of the VPs. He's starting to lose a little bit of that control here as we go into the kind of mid to late game. But these tacks are going to be able to shred the Sentinel. I'm not sure why he pulled back right there. He needs to finish that thing off. It's going to escape again. Oh man, Stone to Elfboy almost slipped it up, let that Sentinel go down, but luckily a little bit of oversight from Baacl. That one volley that may have been prevented by moving those tacks may well have saved that Sentinel.
That's a good position.
Tech Marine currently upgraded with a mastercrafted bolter. At this point, I'm not sure if that's, again, a good choice. It does increase his damage significantly. I feel like he probably wants some more squads at this point, I think. He should either get himself maybe another squad, or not another squad attacks. He's got two. I mean, he could bring his scouts back. He could get a dev librarian. Any of those things would be excellent at this point. Librarian, I feel like, is pretty effective against the current lineup that Elfboy has. He can smite around. He can move those tacks either with Veil of Time or, of course, Infinity Gate and teleport them back and forth if necessary. But right now, these two squads' attacks are kind of hanging out doing nothing. Baacl needs to do something with those. He's got a big pile of requisition, plenty of power. He does notice that, heads into Tier 3, and hopefully he'll be bringing some Tier 3 hurt onto the field. In the meantime, he just needs to hold on to this map control and keep the advantage. But all is quiet for the time being. VPs are kind of evening out here. and Elfboy's kind of just backing up a little bit, maneuvering around, trying to position himself in a good spot that he can deal with this assault cannon dreadnought. Las cannon misfires right there as the dreadnought sneaks out of its arc of fire just barely.
We're ready here, sir.
And Catechins are guarding the eastern part of the map, cloaked in disguise right there, waiting for a hapless scout squad to come by and get obliterated by some mines and combined Catechin fire.
I protect the Imperium.
But notice it seems like Baacl has intentionally been moving these scouts along with the dreadnought, making sure that no sneaky stormtrooper squads come up, drop a melta-bomb, and combined fire with the Inferno pistol. And of course, if that heavy weapon squad managed to get shot too, it could be very, very dire situation for that dreadnought. Baacl hits tier 3, and he is getting himself another scout squad. So realizing that he might need a little more map control as his scouts take some Manticore fire. And that's another excellent choice, I feel like, for Elfboy. Elfboy needs to hold these VPs, and the Manticore can certainly help him do it. It can be such a nasty unit when used correctly, and if you just kind of get those initial shots off, maybe catch a couple units off guard, even if it doesn't wipe the squad, it normally causes some pretty heavy damage. Dreadnought took quite a bit of damage from the Manticore volley itself, so it kind of hanging back, waiting for some scouts to come up and support it. Tech Marine's fallen back under a lot of fire. I'm not sure if the Inquisitor already used her Hammer of the Witches or what, but I think, yeah, with just 100 HP left, if she had dropped that hammer while the Tech Marine was retreating through here, she could have finished him off without any issue. Anyways, Baacl's heading into tier 3. We're going to start seeing some serious Space Marine tier 3 hurt as a Predator's coming onto the field. Scouts taking a Manticore strike, though. 3 rockets and 3 scouts go down. That's a full squad for Stone to Elfboy with that Manticore, already doing a great job. That was the squad that Baacl had just pulled out. Catechin's taken tons of hurt from that assault cannon. That dreadnought probably should have went in and gotten a melee swing while those Catechins were retreating. Would have snagged at least another kill or two. But now Tactical Marines fighting off against what's likely far too much firepower. When you're playing as Space Marine, you really don't want to ever engage the Imperial Guard in a straight-up firefight like this, unless you have some sort of artillery or something along those lines. And was that just another squad? Wow! Another squad just went down right there. I guess to that flame strike in combination with some focus fire from the Imperial Guard. Stone Elfboy managed now to add 3 scout squads to his kill count. With the Predators on the field, and it's hurting some feelings. Guardsmen have to fall back under that kind of fire. There's really nothing up here that can help support that squad against the Predator right now. If the Sentinel was up here with the Inquisitor, they'd probably be able to scare off that Predator between the two of them. That Inferno pistol and the anti-vehicle rockets of those 2 units would probably be a serious threat to the kind of low HP Predator. It doesn't, oh, it does have its armor upgrade. I was going to say it doesn't have its armor yet, but it in fact does. Las cannon hanging back there. Scouts don't need to retreat from that. They can finish that cap, but there are Catechins moving in right now. Sentinels walking right up to this dreadnought too. I'm not sure what the plan is there. Scouts going in for a grenade, but it's not going to do enough. Might kill a couple of units and knock over a few, but with that refractor field now up, that heavy weapons team will not fall over. Even with that smoke bomb down, you can see the dreadnought still doing some pretty serious damage to those Catechins, but it is going to have to fall back. Doesn't want to take any chances with that Catechin squad back there. But the way I feel, I think Baacl not quite being aggressive enough maybe. Knowing what's on the field, he should know that if the las cannon is on this side of the map, the Catechins, the Sentinel are on that side of the map, that he should be able to find this Manticore and take it out with the Predator. The only thing that's out here right now is the Inquisitor with that Inferno pistol, and so long as that tank's moving along with a couple other squads, it should be able to deal with things pretty easily. Takes one Manticore rocket and some fire from the Inquisitor. You can see it gets beat up pretty quickly under that kind of stress. But really, with a Dreadnought and a tank, I feel like Baacl should be able to use these scouts, repair them up, and then make a concentrated push. The las cannon's off the field now. Baacl does have the resource if he wanted to use Blessing of the Omnissiah and really push in now. He spots the Manticore. The Predator should be heading in there. Oh my goodness. I just feel like Baacl isn't quite being as aggressive as he should be. He should be able to move in, take out that Manticore, and that should be his priority. To eliminate that exposed vehicle when there's not much out to support it, especially against these two very troublesome vehicles that he has for Stoned Elfboy here. Stoned Elfboy sitting on a huge pile of resources right now. Look at this. Oh, and the reason for that, by the way, is that he's at pop cap. He's at 101 of 100. I mean, arguably he does have 6 infantry squads and 2 vehicles, so that's quite a hefty army. Stoneboy's gonna have to figure out what he's gonna do with it here, because the VPs are even up still, and one side or the other is going to have to yield shortly. So Manticore is moving up. I'm not sure where exactly he's trying to position that. Maybe get it in range of this VP back here so he can keep Space Marines off of that. But right now Elfboy's kind of just hanging back, trying to figure out where the Space Marines are. They're not out on the field anywhere, so he's playing it a little cautious right now. But he has tons of anti-infantry. He's got 2 plasma fully upgraded guardsman squads, which he can't even reinforce one of them all the way right now because he's at pop cap. And I'm not sure if that second heavy weapons squad was intentional or not. Perhaps that was a mistake. I don't know. But here comes a big concentrated push from Baacl. He's got his tax, his Tech Marine, some scouts, and a Predator moving in here. His Dreadnought, however, still hanging back there. He really needs to push up and do something. But it looks like Stoned Elfboy may be in a rather untenable position as the Sentinel goes down. The Guardsmen are taking tons of fire. A Guardsman squad goes down as well. Tank's taking some fire from the Manticore, but the second 2 rockets miss completely. Some more rockets dropping from the sky. A firebomb happens right there, but the Manticore is going to go down. Inquisitor goes down as well, as Stoned Elfboy is suddenly finding himself in a position where he has, I'll just say, plenty of population left to spend. Las Cannon takes another quick shot, but the Predator's gonna be okay. It's good to see that Baacl did continue to repurchase those scout squads. You'll see scout squads go down fairly often, and oftentimes you'll see kind of players forget to bring those back out. We've got Terminators now out as well, and I mean, Baacl just has all the big guns out. He's got Stern Guards, he's got an Assault Cannon Dreadnought, a Predator, Terminators as well. He needs to get this Dreadnought up and have the scouts repair it. He's just not quite being on top of his vehicle control. Tax will lose this firefight if the second squad doesn't come up there. And really, he spent so much money on those vehicles, they're kind of just hanging in the back getting repaired. You gotta remember, I mean, I'm not afraid when I have 2 vehicles down that low to just go ahead, pop the global, get them fixed up and get them back on the field, especially when you're down by about 100 VPs. You're at this late stage of the game. You really want to focus on keeping your map presence strong. Because right now, there's nothing over here but a heavy weapons squad, and he's not sent a single infantry squad over to cap it. So Baacl really needs to get a little more on top of that. He's kind of fallen back on his map control, even though he just had an amazing engagement against Stoned Elfboy. Stoned Elfboy decided to go ahead and spend some of his massive reserve on some Ogrins. Catechins retreating past some Terminators, who I feel like could probably take them out. Those Catechins only have 200 HP. Some Assault Cannon fire and a few swings with those Power Fists could have really put the hurt on that squad. And now with Terminators out, I feel like Baacl wants to get himself a Librarian all the more. Stern Guard's pretty well beat up. They're going to have to fall back here shortly. If they're not careful, they're going to start bleeding some heavy models. Predator's in a bad position, though. Caught itself right in the middle of a las cannon arc. It's not going to get out of there. Ogrins take it out. Stoned Elfboy's making an excellent effort to get back in this game. he really wasn't out of it until that major loss. He still had a solid VP lead and plenty of resource to get back in the game. Terminator's now taking tons of fire as the Ogrins and Inquisitor with her Inferno gun. That Inferno pistol just so very nasty against Space Marine. And really, I mean, really just about anything, but I just feel like it does so much solid single target action that against Space Marine in particular it can be such a pain. Dreadnought finally getting back in the game here and forcing some squads off the field. But Baacl's down to 65 victory points to 265. He's down by 200 and suddenly finding himself lacking in map control pretty severely. 2 las cannons on the field for Stoned Elfboy. Still has that Dreadnought walking around though, harassing anything it encounters. I really feel like Stoned Elfboy probably should have gone for an anti-vehicle kit on these Stormtroopers, but we'll have to see if the Dreadnought stays up or not. There are 2 las cannons on the field. Catachan's now engaging the Tech Marine. And he moves in, drops a suppression shot, then goes in with a powerful sweep, actually doing some pretty significant damage to the Catachans. Well, along with those scouts, he might be able to actually win this engagement. He retreats him a bit quick, though. A nice, ult-reliable combination, trying to take out those scouts, but he wasn't keeping track of the Dreadnought on this side of the map. He looks at it at the same moment I do, and tries to pull it away from the Ogrins a little bit too late. It had wandered once again into the arc of that same las cannon, and gotten beaten up by some Ogrins that just took that thing apart. A 3-0 cap now for Baacl, however, struggling desperately to stay on for this game. Attacks falling back. Oh my goodness, and it looks like, was that just judgment on those stern guards? I'm not sure what exactly happened, but those stern guards just went down trying to hold that point up top. It looks like Stoned Elfboy may be in a good position here because Baacl is suddenly down to just 3 squads and lacking in map control severely. This could be the end. Wow, look at how quick those scouts just dropped to both the Inquisitor and the Stormtrooper squad. And it looks like Baacl throws in the towel at the loss to that final squad. Very unfortunate. He had the game, I feel like, in his grasp, and he just kind of lost control of a few key moments. Lost his Predator, lost his Dreadnought, lost a bunch of scout squads. He had the resource to soon grab himself maybe another tank, but he needed to stay in the game a little better than he did. Lost a few squads there at the end to some seriously mean Inquisitor stuff. But what a game. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed it. It was a good game indeed. Playing on a different map, playing a little something different. I like seeing the custom maps, even if I don't enjoy all of them that much myself, but Fedrid Folley is one of my favorites. Anyways, this is Red-Rupee. Feel free to subscribe, like the video, comment on the player strategy, what have you. I always appreciate it, and I will be catching you guys next time.